Now I'm going to share this. If it will let me go to.
If you've got the link, can you send it to me as well?
Yep, I'll put it in Skype chat for you.
Thank you, my man.
You got it. I think it might be me. There you go. Look at that, 3 minutes, and I got it back up. So let's see if it's actually back up. Is anybody showing up? Okay, there's 3 people in there. But it's buffering. Something's going on weird.
Your internet going funny?
It might be. No, there it is. No, we're still going.
No.
No, it is something is going on.
Buffering, man.
And then it's not. Yeah. God, I hate this. Let me do a speed check real quick.
Yeah, because my image quality looks awful at your end, man.
It does, yeah. No, I got mega bandwidth. I'm good. Because I'm fiber. I'm at like 200 megabits down and about the same up because it's symmetrical. So yeah, it is. This is YouTube. I'm blaming it on YouTube. 100%.
Yeah.
I'm blaming it on YouTube, people.
So it's live again now?
I believe it's live for now. Yeah, we've been live for 50 seconds. Yeah. I believe it's live. Trevor in the chat room says it's still going. Thanks, guys.
The good thing is, I know that none of this bandwidth problems or YouTube problems are at my end because you're the host.
I know. All right, let's try to continue this.
Okay.
Jeez.
So, should we just carry on where we left off?
Yeah. Do you remember what you were talking about?
Yeah, man. Well, I was gonna say, about people understanding, not understanding now. Does that make them as photographers a good thing or a bad thing? Should they be doing it? Should they not be doing it? Not at all, man. I mean, they should be creating whatever. I mean, if cameras can help them get the imagery that they're after, even if they're not technical, but they have the eye for it, then surely that's got to be a good thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be a good thing if people can create.
But does it make them? Does it make them better though? I mean, is it good to have the foundation of knowing knowing what you're even if you like the example I used in TWiP Pro was driving a manual transmission car versus an automatic. You don't need to know how to drive a manual car nor drive an automatic, but it sure does help to know what's going on in the car when you're driving the car. Does that logic translate over to photography, you think?
I think this is where consumerism is guilty of this. I think with the cameras doing so much for people nowadays, people almost forget to perhaps go back to the foundations to better their skill sets with the technology they've got. I think we're all guilty of it, probably with some areas of technology. But I mean, I think when you come to that, it doesn't hurt to go back to the foundations, and I think it can only make you better on top of what you're already doing. It can only make you grow from strength to strength, even if you learn a little bit of it. Maybe not to the extent that we do in the kind of things we do in the commercial world, but surely if you can learn the foundations of something and it doesn't take you that long to understand or put into practice, and it makes you better, I can't see why would you not want to do that?
Yeah, and if especially if this is your passion, right? If this is what you're going to be doing, you want to become a professional photographer, you want to be Wayne Johns one day, right? It makes sense to use good concrete on your foundation, right? To build on top of it. So yeah, I don't know. So what's the solution? I mean, the whole title of this episode was best camera ever made, right? So let me throw this in there. In terms of that whole upgrade cycle that people get caught in and the manufacturers are sort of in. There's a company, Autorama. You know Autorama, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So Autorama has a gear buyback program where you can send them your gear and they'll give you cash or credit towards new gear, right? So is that a good way to sort of keep, to placate that inner demon that's looking for a new gear, or sort of get on this upgrade cycle, but add a recycling component to it, or are you just feeding the demon that way? What do you think?
Well, when you are feeding the demon, but at the end of the day, you're still feeding the demon anyway, because people are still going to buy it, whatever. I feel, if they can't afford it straight away, whilst they've got their current camera, then they're probably going to sell the current camera, have the cash for a day, and then buy the new one the next day, or even the same evening on probably Amazon or something like that. You know what I mean? So if it's easier for people to do a buyback or a trade-in, whichever way you want to look at it, and they can do the transaction that way, and why not? If they're getting a similar price, if they're then selling it privately, then surely that's a help for them, good for the manufacturer, good for the store, and good for those gear hungry people that feel the need to upgrade to the latest and greatest piece of kit.
Yeah. I mean, that would be my concern.
Yeah.
Are you fueling? That's the monster, right? Are you fueling that monster by providing it a steady IV drip of gear? I think it's a great thing, because you if you're on that cycle and you feel like upgrading all the time, it's hard. These days it's not that hard to sell old gear, but it's kind of like walking over hot coals, and Craigslist, you're worried about getting scammed, and some of these other trading services, are you going to get what the thing is worth? So you end up just keeping it and letting it depreciate in the corner. This way, at least Autorama is a known source. They're gonna do the right thing, and you can also get the gear from them and sort of keep going forward, right?
Yeah, I guess the biggest question anybody that's wanting to switch up in a program like that is, is the trade-in or buyback value going to be enough to suffice your needs or your requirements to buy the next one, or are you getting a good price, or are you getting not a good price? It's completely undervalued, and you're like, hey, no way, man, I can get 50% more than that, selling it privately. I guess that's the biggest question in these kind of scenarios with a buyback scheme is, are you getting enough for the one you're trading in?
Yeah. Will you ever get enough,
up to the individual?
Yeah, what's enough?
You never you never will. I mean, electronics and things like that always depreciate in value no matter what. And obviously a lot of, especially camera manufacturers, there are a lot of companies bringing out a lot of different models now at an expedited rate to cover different interests and different photographers and different types and different genres to fit those little niches. There's so much on offer now from so many brands. Hell, I mean, your camera's going to depreciate so quickly, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
You should.
It's one of those tough pills you just have to swallow, I think, knowing it's going to lose money.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like buying a car, right? I mean, it's when the back two wheels leave the lot, you still has a lot of its value, right? Same thing.
I mean, the difference being for people like myself being a commercial photographer is that my gear has a purpose to work for me, and it pays for itself and it earns money.
Yeah.
So although I may sell it at a lesser value than what I purchased it for, I know that thing's worked its ass off and it's earned me a living and it's paid its way. And hey, I don't mind selling it for 50% what I bought it for, because I know it's earned me 500% more than what I paid for it.
Yeah, and see, that's there's different mechanics at play there, because you're a working pro, and that's factored into your bottom line. I mean, I know some people that can. They're doing a video job and they bid out in the quote that they need red cameras in order to do the job, but they get to keep the cameras, right? So the cameras are automatically, and then in the grand scheme of the budget, which is 7-8 figures, the cameras are nothing. It's a rounding error in there, especially if it means getting good work and getting it done on budget. So people like that and people like you can sort of factor in the cost of the gear into your work. But if you're not making any money with your camera gear, you don't have that luxury. So you kind of have to just eat it, right? And then move forward.
You got to swallow the pill. But I think as much as the manufacturers are guilty of feeding the consumer, I think the consumer is also a little bit guilty. The consumer market is guilty because of the demanding more from the manufacturer. So I think it's a vicious circle where one is feeding the other and the other one is feeding it back, and people are wanting more and more and more, and the manufacturers are giving them more and more and more, and the buyer wants more again, but for less money. Mm-hmm. So I think they're, one of their own vicious circles. They're fighting each other on that front. But Give me a camera with some manual dials, man, and I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, you're a pro.
It's all good.
It's like James Bond, right? Give James Bond anything, or MacGyver or anything to get out of a sticky situation. They can get out of it. They don't necessarily need, the awesome gun and car. They can get out of anything with anything. All right, let's move on. And I want to be pretty quick on this next segment because it does look like we're still experiencing some internet issues. I want to remind the folks that are in the chat room, watching us live, etc., that this is being recorded and the replay will be posted hopefully this evening. So, and this means a lot of editing for me tonight, but we'll get into this. Is you plan this, Wayne John, because you got to stay up late. Now I got to stay up late to get this thing done.
Man, it's like 10 to 3 in the morning here.
Good. Now I don't care anymore. All right, man. Let's move on to the next topic. I want to remind the chat room, get your questions in there. We're still going to go through the show as normal. And get your questions into the chat, and when we get to the Q&A segment, we'll address them, provided the stream doesn't crash again. So Wayne, the next topic is DJI, right? So DJI, are you a drone owner? Do you own any?
Yeah, Mavic Pro, yeah.
Oh yeah, so do I. Yeah, so you saw the news, right? From the note. So there was apparently some corruption inside of DJI where people were playing around with numbers. And
that's interesting.
It just to the tune of over $100 million that they're going to have to take in a loss this next time around. Which I don't know what DJI's bottom line is. If $100 million is like seat cushion money, or is it a big deal that's going to impact them going forward? Being the number one drone manufacturer, I don't think it will affect them that much. But I'm curious as to what you think. From the standpoint. I mean, people can read the article, and I'll put the article in the blog post for this episode.
Yeah.
But there's two facets that I'm curious about with this corruption thing. How does that affect, and we're armchair quarterbacking here. We know nothing. But how do you think it will affect the product line and their release schedule? And on the other side, how will it affect the competitive landscape? Has the beast been wounded and it's time to attack, or what? What do you think?
You see, when I look at it, it's like if DJI have been making leaps and bounds and lots of good stuff for a long time, and they've dominated the market with their products. Now, if they've only just noticed that there's some fraudulent activity going on within the business, and it's going to cost them up to $150 million. Man, if they've only just noticed that it's going to cost them $150 million, they must be making a shitload of cash. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if it hasn't affected their current business and their current product,